Welcome to Part 1 of Geoffrey of Monmouth's The History of the Kings of Britain. Chapter 1. Brutus occupies the island of Albion. Have you ever read the Iliad? Well, you probably should, because it's important to know about the Trojan War and the fact that it's a huge starting point for this story. In fact, everything takes place immediately following it. So, after the Trojan War, this dude named Aeneas fled with his son Ascanius to Italy, where they meet up with two kings. Also, you're going to have to forgive me in advance. I don't claim to be an expert on how to pronounce these names. King Latinus liked them, but King Turnus didn't and went all rage mode and attacked Aeneas. Aeneas won and got a kingdom out of the deal, and King Latinus' daughter Lavinia. Not bad. It's apparently pretty easy to become a ruler in the old world. You just kick the old king's ass and get a free country and a wife for your troubles. So when Aeneas dies, his son Ascanius is elected king. Elected, that's funny. He goes on to found a town called Alba and has a son named Silvius. Have you noticed that in general mothers aren't mentioned? Get used to that, they don't matter. Silvius, however, starts getting down with one of Lavina's nieces. When Papa Ascanius finds out about this, he's all, "Great googly moogly, somebody call the soothsayers." I'm sure he said it exactly like that. Though I don't know why it's a big deal, it's not like they're actually related, but whatever. And the soothsayers come along and... Congratulations, it's a boy! He'll be the downfall of his parents! If you think about it, this would be really difficult to make a gift card for. They also predict that after being exiled, he'll go on a sweet road trip and find glory. So, whoever his mother is, she dies in childbirth. And the baby is definitely a boy, so far so good, prophecy. Kid's a boy, and one parent down for the count. I wish soothsayers existed nowadays. I'd ask for lotto numbers. This master of matricide is named Brutus. As we all know, folk with penises don't raise children, so he's raised by a midwife. Also, Silvius was probably scared shitless about the whole being killed by him at some point. But one fated day, at the age of 15, Brutus mistook his dad for a deer, like you do, and thus pulled a Dick Cheney and shot him. Due to the hilarious but unfortunate patricide, he was expelled from Italy and started his prophesized road trip to Greece. Upon arriving, he meets the descendants of Helenus, who are being held captive by the king of the Greeks, Pandrasus. Fun fact, y'all, Helenus is the brother of Hector. You know the one. The leader of the Trojan forces who pushed back the Greeks from the plains of Troy in the Iliad. To summarize, Pyrrhus, son of Achilles, took Helenus, brother of Hector, and the rest of the Trojans away in chains to become slaves to the Greeks in revenge for the death of his father. So the Trojans are enslaved in Greece, and what a twist! Brutus finds out he's descended from these brave warriors. Fanboygasm! Upon learning of this, Brutus decides to hang out with these folk. The book doesn't go into detail on exactly what he was doing, aside from kicking ass and taking names. But whose ass and whose names? Oh, I'm guessing the Greeks' asses. But he was always a good bro about his winnings and shared what he got with the Trojans. As a result, he became, like, super popular. So much so that the Trojans begged him to become their leader. Also, not all of the Greeks are D-bags to the Trojans. There's this one noble-born chill dude who goes by the name of Assaracus. That almost sounds like a Toys R Us store, but one that specializes in asses and racks. Actually, his name's pronounced Assaracus, but... This fellow Assaracus has a Trojan mother, but we won't mention her name because mothers don't matter. Anyways, Assaracus doesn't like all the tyranny going on, and he's starting to side with the Trojans. He also becomes fond of that there Brutus guy, so they become friends. Assaracus is doubly annoyed because he inherited 3 castles via his dying king dad, but Assaracus' half-brother is like, "Nah, he's the son of a concubine and not legit like me. Castles, please." And I guess that worked because the king and the Greeks were like, "Yeah, let's re-gift those castles to you, since you're too legit to quit."
Enough!
I'm sorry. So with the combined force of Assaracus and the Trojans, Brutus was pretty much set up to just waltz in and get a bunch of useful resources. Ain't it nice when everything just falls into place because you're the chosen one? So Brutus agrees to become the leader of the Trojans and takes the almost re-gifted castles and fortifies them. Then, for whatever reason, unspecified, Brutus, Assaracus, and the majority of the Trojans moved to the woods and fields. I guess they just wanted to go camping. Then Brutus writes an angry email to the king of Greece, which basically reads, "Dear Sir, the Trojans prefer crapping in the woods as free wood hobos to being slaves to assholes like you." Although, I guess he's a bit more eloquent than that, but the passive-aggressive still rings through. This goes as well as one would expect. Time for war! So, Pandrasus, king of the Greeks, organizes his army and sets out to kill these smack-talking, upstart a-hole slaves. Seriously, what slaves talk back like that? It's like they want me to kill them. But he and his army aren't expecting the Trojans to actually know what they're doing, thanks to Brutus's military prowess, so they get caught completely off guard. Think of it like playing a MOBA game, except instead of one guy jumping onto your carry, it's like 3,000. And I guess the Greeks were like, nope, want none of that. So they attempt to haul ass across a turbulent river, and fail, which causes Brutus to gleefully chase and stab as many of them as he can in order to increase his KDR. Brutus. Also, I'm probably not pronouncing his name right. I think it's Pandrasus, but I like Pandrasus. But anyway, Pandrasus' brother Antigonus was also there, and he was like, "I ain't no sucker, I'ma go down fighting." So he organizes his forces and rallies them to fight the Trojans. But it doesn't work out very well for the remaining Greeks because most of them are unarmed due to being caught off guard. Not hard to see who's going to win that one. Points for Moxie though, I guess. So Brutus captures Antigonus and his comrade, who sounds like a venereal disease, 𝗕𝗿𝗂𝘂𝘂𝘀. Brutus garrisons the castle they were fighting at called 𝗕𝗵𝗽𝗀𝗀𝘂𝘂𝘀 with 600 soldiers, and then heads back to the woods to hang with his homies. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Pandrasus is kicking himself for getting owned, while his brother is now a prisoner of war. So he's like, okay, let's actually get organized this time and go siege out of that castle. So he takes his now armed army and goes to do just that, thinking that Brutus is in the castle. But nope, Brutus is an assassin class apparently, because he'd rather rely on subterfuge and ganking. So Brutus wants to go defend that castle, but he's gotta do it all sneaky-like. He tells his POW 𝗕𝗿𝗂𝘂𝘂𝘂𝘀, "Hey, I have this sharp stabby sword that I can totally stab you to death with. But instead of that, I am offering you this sweet deal. Go to the army sieging the castle and tell them that you managed to escape along with Antigonus, but that he's unable to make it back to them because of his restraints. Tell them that he's at the edge of the glade. I'll be there with some armed dudes ready to kill them." The too long didn't read version is betray your comrades for freedom and not getting stabbed. And 𝗕𝗿𝗂𝘂𝘂𝘂𝘀 is like, "I'll do it if you don't stick your stabby into either me or Antigonus." And Brutus is like, "Copacetic, bro." Thankfully, guards are easily tricked, so this plan works. Then Brutus and 3 groups start playing Metal Gear Solid because it continues to be all about stealth at this point. I don't want to bog you down with the deets, but a lot of Greeks die in their sleep, or while trying to escape. Worn out by all the slaughter, Brutus uses kinky bondage on the king, because kings are worth triple points if kept alive. In the morning, they loot the bodies, and there was much rejoicing. Yay! So, new garrison on the fortress, and back to the woods! Forest party! Well, during the forest party, everybody's arguing over what they can get out of this hostage situation, when the one sensible person in the group, this guy, finally stands up and is all, "You know, the Greeks are always going to hate us for all that slaughtering your son, brother, father in their sleep that we just did, so instead of asking for land in Greece where they can be all passive-aggressive and eventually murdery with us, why don't we ask for, like, the ability to GTFO to a land far away, and amnesty in the form of somebody important marrying Pandrasus' daughter? This will solidify the not killing us to fuel your blood-soaked revenge clause. Also, we should ask for bling for our journey." Pandrasus agrees, because being tortured to death would have sucked. Then, because this is a Gary Stew tale, he totally rejoices in the fact that his daughter is about to get boned by the noble guy who organized this whole was able to organize and free the Trojan slaves through sheer military prowess. "I take some comfort in the knowledge that I am about to give my daughter to a young man of such great prowess. The nobility which flourishes in him, and his fame, which is well known to us, show him to be of the true race of Priam and this guy. Who other but he could have freed from their chains the exiles of Troy, when they were enslaved by so many mighty princes? Who other but he could have led them in their resistance to the king of the Greeks? Blah blah blah. This ass-patting speech goes on. Anyways, you get the point. Pandrasus is so sweet on Brutus, he even offers to remain as a hostage until the Trojans get all their goodies. I think somebody has a crush. So Brutus, master of parricide, look it up. Road trips and stealth operations, gets his first big win. 324 ships are organized. Why that number? I don't know. With food and a new waifu. His daughter's name is Eggnog. Eggnog? I don't know. At least she gets a name. Once handed over, Eggnog spends the majority of her time crying and passing out. Because horrible trauma, I'm being forcefully taken away from my homeland and people by the individual who just went on a bloodbender against us all. But it's okay. Because Brutus is all kissy kissy lovey lovey sweet on her. Aww. Now begins the epic journey to find some prime real estate. And I think that's as good a stopping point as any. I hope you enjoyed that. If so, stay tuned for part 2 of Brutus Occupies the Island of Albion.
Hit the bells up. I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.